After much anticipation, former President Trump was subjected to more federal criminal charges this week, just not in the way we anticipated. While everybody was waiting for a January 6th fresh indictment, instead, the charges from the first criminal indictment were expanded. Here's what Trump said last night at the Iowa Republican Party's annual spring fundraiser.
They want to weaponize the IRS just like they've weaponized the Justice Department and the FBI. And by the way, if I weren't running, I would have nobody coming after me. Or if I was losing by a lot, I would have nobody coming after me.
Trump's
CNN airing that statement by Donald Trump and failing to contest the fact that charges was on the way for Donald Trump prior to him launching his campaign, and the reason why Donald Trump launched his campaign earlier than any other presidential candidate was to try to avoid charges and so that he could say his charges was political. You see how white people who supposedly at one time was liberal, how they switch over when they feel white supremacy weakening. This is why Trump was able to manipulate the concept about the media being lies. But if you don't watch the media, you will not be able to decipher the lies.
Vivek Ramaswamy got in a heated exchange with CNN's Don Lemon on gun rights for Black Americans. Watch.
Actually, you don't know, funny fact is, Black people did not get to enjoy the other freedoms until their Second Amendment rights were secured. And I think that that's one of the lessons that we learned.
Still aren't allowed to enjoy the freedoms.
I disagree with you on that, Don. I disagree with you. I think you're doing a disservice to our country by failing to recognize the fact that we have equality before the law.
And you live in this country, then you can disagree with me, but we're not. You mentioned in here that
I disagree.
Three different shades
Don, I think we have to be able to
here.
talk about these issues in the open, regardless of the color of our skin. The part that I find insulting is when you say today Black Americans don't have those rights after we have gone through civil rights revolution in this country.
What's up, guys? SKS14 here. We're here with Warren. Hey, Warren, what are we doing today?
Just go out and exercise our right with a rifle today.
Right on. Want to tell them a little bit about your YouTube page?
Just for educational purpose, and also find professional, respectful, and constitutional officers in the state of Oregon, and make sure we still keep our rights here pure and simple.
Right on. What's your channel called?
Mark Guardian. Upstairs, I'm audio recording. Audio recording.
I'm audio recording as well. Yes, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Howdy.
Can I see right up there? No. Why not? I don't have to. Doing crack.
Okay. Any particular reason why you're carrying the AR, especially around this point?
I'm just exercising my right.
I understand that, but is there a reason why you're doing it?
Of course.
He pulled out the gun. He's getting down. He's just walking up and carrying.
Fidel Castro, Amar Locke were both denied 14th Amendment rights, equal protection under the law, because they were both murdered for executing their Second Amendment rights. If blacks had constitutional rights, if blacks had Fourth Amendment rights, that would have prevented the police from getting a warrant to raid Breonna Taylor's house, and she would have still been alive. This is a video I did maybe 2 years ago, but showing that blacks are still not afforded our constitutional rights, and we continuously see videos indicating that blacks are not afforded the full constitutional rights as other Americans. And this video also shows the contrast in how police treat whites versus blacks who are executing their civil or constitutional rights. And this can be repeated throughout America. So when Don Lemon said we are not afforded those rights still in America, he was telling the truth, but he was fired from speaking from a black people's perspective.
are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have a different
freedoms
point
that
of view.
black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
but
me regarding you as a fellow citizen.
That you're
That's what I
sitting
think we should
here,
say.
whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about
I'm,
what it's like to be black.
Whatever
in America.
ethnicity I'm, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
the content of the ideas.
He said he's not going to shut off the car, so. That's all right. Just keep it on. What are you reaching for? Whoa. Hey, get out of the car, man. You got a gun right there. Whoa.
There's rights to
Get
this.
out.
There are rights to this.
Do you have a control?
There are rights to this.
I will send this dog on you.
I will shoot you if you do.
Don't. Grab that gun. You have rights. Put your hand.
Gun ownership has been intertwined with the identity of America since the settlement of the 13 colonies. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees Americans' right to keep and bear arms.
You have rights too. You have rights too.
Don't you dare.
You have rights. You cannot
Don't you
shoot
dare.
Here. This is our Constitution. You know that. I will shoot you if this possible. That's a threat. And so
First, asking Castile for his license and registration.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it, then.
I do not. You cannot. No, it is constitutionally owned.
The United States has a troubled legacy when it comes to protecting the lives of Black Americans. In 1868, the 14th Amendment was added to the U.S. Constitution to uphold the rights of African Americans. Sadly, this amendment has been overshadowed by an oppressive and violent history.
Don't reach for it, then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
Would this have happened if those passengers, the driver and the passenger were white? I don't think it would have.
He's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his.
I see that.
You have a concealed carry permit.
It's not concealed.
Yes,
You can see the weapon. It's right there.
Don't do it.
Okay. What are you afraid of?
Don't do it.
I'm not doing anything.
Do me a favor. Just please step out of the car. That's all we're asking you to do.
Oh, you're asking me not.
Yes.
Conceal your weapons, please.
No.
This is how we treat each other civilly. This is how we act.
No. Just
Yes, we do.
Don't do it.
I'm gonna drive away. I'm not gonna bother anybody.
No, you're
Hands
not.
on the seat.
Don't do this. Don't do it. Don't.
Racism exists.
America would do anything in order to continuously to oppress black people. They will bring in immigrants of color from other countries and use them to deny our suffering. They will come over here, these people from India, and act as if racism doesn't exist and act as if they are unfamiliar with it when this same racist system exists in their own homeland. In India, they have a caste system. Those darker skinned people are considered untouchables and they are treated like they treat black people in America. This is why he can say these type of things. And Don Lemon was fired for any pushback on this type of conversation because they want you to deny your suffering. These people are the same way in India. No place in the world has not been touched by this white supremacy. They was dominated in India by Europe. Europe set their caste system. He come from an upper caste and benefit from that caste system. He's going to come in America and continue to reinforce that caste system. Even though he doesn't fall at the top, he knows he doesn't fall at the bottom.
India is growing and changing fast, but some traditional views are still in place. Institutions like the caste system have been outlawed, yet caste discrimination and segregation still occurs. The most recent economic data indicated in urban areas a wealth gap of 60% exists between people traditionally from the highest and lowest caste. So what is the Indian caste system and how is it affecting modern India? Well, the caste system is a hereditary social hierarchy, also called the jati system, that's existed in India for nearly 2,000 years. Historians think that these social distinctions may be based in ancient Hinduism, which delineates 4 major social classes, or varnas. On top are the Brahmin, usually described as priests and scholars. Then come Kshatriya, described as nobles and warriors. The Vaisya, below them operate commercial businesses, and then the Sudra, below them are referred to as laborers or servants. Then there is a 5th group completely ostracized from traditional Indian society, the untouchables, now called the Dalits. This is the lowest caste and is relegated to undesirable jobs like cleaning sewers. Because they are considered impure, the Dalits have been regularly segregated from schools and religious temples, and there are reports that some have even been punished for letting their shadow fall on someone of a higher caste.
Doesn't their caste system sound very familiar to America's caste system? Doesn't the untouchables condition sound eerily similar to that of Black Americans who was relegated to slavery? Doesn't the fact that they had to pass laws to prevent discrimination against these people, and that discrimination continues to this day, doesn't that sound eerily familiar to American system of segregation, prevented from churches, schools, segregated in that manner? Doesn't that system sound eerily familiar? However, this guy from India, Kamala Harris as well, all continuously deny this. They act as if this doesn't exist in India and try to deny it with us in America. They don't acknowledge this in India because then they would have to acknowledge it in America. So when Kamala Harris comes and say America is not a historically or a systematically racist system, India is a systematically racist system. America is a systematically racist system. Both of them was made that way by the English. Let's stop with the buffoonery. And she is here to do her job, and that's to keep American descendants of slavery down. Just like that Republican dude from India.
Experts think that this hierarchy wasn't strictly adhered to in the region until the British claimed India as a colony and wrote the caste system into their laws. From there, the system became more rigid, and when India gained independence from Britain in 1947, it was ingrained into the culture. Obviously, the Dalits got the short end of the stick in this historical arrangement. But in 1955, discrimination based on caste was outlawed. And to help reintegrate lower castes into modern society, the government later implemented affirmative action like quotas for certain jobs and university admissions. However, vestiges of the
So as long as he's able to continue to push that caste system in America, it prevents him and his people in America from being at the bottom like Black America's is. So you're about to see many liberals transfer over to conservatism. What I want you to see from the Trump lies being amplified about the election being stolen without any evidence, what you clearly see is that white people are allowed to have a voice regardless whether it's based off reality or not. And Black people, even if it's based off facts and reality, are not allowed to have a voice. What you see is with Trump versus the Don Lemon firing is that Black people are not allowed to speak when they are being attacked. They are supposed to suffer in silence, where Trump doesn't need any evidence of what he's saying, but you still see the media and Europeans will propel it and give it validation because it's a white man saying it, and he's a rich white man. It doesn't need validation. This is why America is uncivilized and is about to completely unravel. because they don't need validation behind the words that they say. They don't need evidence. They don't need facts. They don't need anything. Because a white man said and a white man feels it, that makes it true. Because other white people have an incentive in white supremacy, even those white liberals, they're not truly going to contest it, and they're going to always give white supremacy a voice, and they're going to always position white supremacy to silence or squash black masculinity or black manhood, even though Don Lemon is gay, but black manhood or black suffering. So what we as a people have to understand that unless you create your own outlets, unless you support and build your own resources, unless you learn to take the information and dialogue from your own people, then you're going to always be misled. They're going to always make sure you don't have a voice. And they will amplify any voice that is opposed to your voice. And this is all the issue is with Donald Trump. All the medias are amplifying this crybaby white people nature as if white people was being picked on and discriminated against, because that is the voice of Trump. While silencing black voices.